Hello, Daniel. How are you? So happy, brother, that you are here in these calls and just said, to share your story. As you know, during this fucking pandemic, I'm trying to get my friends, people that I admire, and asking them to show to the people how was his life. And the reality is that the more I interview friends and successful people, I more discover that all of them have been in hard time, and maybe the common fact is that they were able to transform these problems in opportunities. And I think your case is fantastic. And as a YPOer, I think I'm super proud to be your friend, and happy for the achievement you have made. So I want you today to tell another story. But again, let's start from the beginning. When you start, when you were a kid. So do you grow up here, or tell me your story from the beginning?
Yeah, you bet. Thank you for having me. This is great. Always a pleasure talking to you. This is a different way of doing it. It's used to be
I know.
get together in Miami, but
I think
now we
last
do
time
it
was
over
in a
virtual.
bar, no, in nightclubs,
Exactly.
of course.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I grew up north of Chicago, and oldest of four kids, very entrepreneurial family. My dad's a doctor, but was always involved in other things, real estate, investing in other businesses. So very entrepreneurial family, and all the rest of my siblings went on to do very entrepreneurial things as well. But yeah, and then just grew up, and I always wanted to be a doctor. Actually, I wanted to be a surgeon, just like my dad, until I was 17 years old, and applying for colleges. And I was politically active in high school, and I said, maybe instead of being an orthopedic surgeon, maybe I want to be president of the United States. Maybe I want to go into politics. So that was my ambition going to
Almost the
college.
same, doctor or president.
Yeah, So yeah, no. So I went to school. I studied political science and history with the goal of eventually getting into public service. That was at 18 years old. That was my mission. That was my plan.
Wow. But you know what? I love that. No, no, my kid is also in the same career. He love also story, and you know what? Dan, I love people that are thinking in going to politics, because in the past, thinking about politics, it's like a dirty world. I don't want to go there. But it is so important that smart people start thinking in doing something in politics, because the impact, not just for the political thing. No, no, no. It's for the economy, for every single person. So a politician, in some way, is managing the most important company is a country. So I'm so happy that you were walking in this direction. And then what happened?
It's I think a combination of being 18 and thinking, one way, and growing up and seeing life another way starts to change. And so gave up on wanting to be president. A dear friend of mine, I worked out in DC for a short time, and a dear friend of mine put it best. She said that national politics is like the Super Bowl. It's the biggest game of the year. Everyone wants to go there. All the advertisers are on it, but the game is always a disappointment. And I took that seriously. And I said, yeah, my reason for wanting to go into politics and into public service was to make a difference. And you don't need to be a member of Congress or Senate to make a difference. Certainly they're front and center, and yeah, they have abilities. The average citizen, I'm not voting on the relief bill today, right? But people in business, people in commerce, these leaders of their communities, that's the ones making a difference. And I thought that you think about how many people can you name that were alive 100 years ago, just like offhand. Not 100. Most people can't rattle off 100 names, but the impact of what people did 100 years ago. So it's really more about the impact. So it kind of changed my perspective.
Wow, so nice. As a YPO, that also YPO is pushing all the members to think exactly in this direction. That instead of complaining about situations, with the power through the companies and all the life that we are touching in our companies, if we do something nice, and so the impact is going to be amazing. Just as a YPOer, so is you know what? I love this approach. You know that Mr. Wonderful in Shark Tank, he said that one thing is making business and it's kind of war, and another thing, and the other is charity. I understand this point, but I believe also that as a leaders, if you are a good person, and I think that you can make a difference, because again, you can make money and helping people, and you can make money and create an environment, amazing environment. I was talking with Simon Cohen, and
Absolutely.
it's crazy what he's doing in his company, and the approach he's trying to to be, first of all, it's kind of be happy, and through happiness is even more productive. So believe it or not, the more love you give and the better person you are, in some way this come back to you, and having a better environment, and this better environment in some way create more productivity, and at the end bring money. So it's a beautiful strategy. I love this approach. And then, so you were trying to go in politics, then you understood, what, I think I have a even better opportunity doing something in business that I can absolutely control, and it's going to be for sure a nice impact. So what was your first company, or what do you
Yeah.
do?
So the
You
first
start
thing
working?
Yeah, my first like entrepreneurial venture. I had other jobs throughout college. I was a concierge at a hotel on Michigan Avenue. I did all different things. But my first like, real
Wait, I love that. Wait. I love that. I believe, brother, that we need to put an emphasis on there. So it's not bad to start and doing very normal work. My kid, 2 years ago, he had an accident in the car, no? And we said, okay, we're gonna pay you to pay the crash, but you need to pay back us. And he was start working in making burgers. And he told me the second day, I never saw a person working so hard, Daddy. And now when someone threw a paper in this, and I have to clean the paper in the floor, I will never throw a paper again. So you saw something. When you go in and do different things, you really get some, I don't know, vulnerability, but you understand different perspective, and you give more value of what you have. So it's so important that the people that are listening to us, even, and you know what, I think that the YPO thinks, thank God we have nice companies. In some way, we have a challenge with our kids, because we cannot keep protecting so much. We need to let them suffer a little bit. And they need to understand the value of a normal work, and the importance also of these people doing this normal job for us. So I love that you're starting this way.
Yeah, I mean, in college, I worked the stock room at Nordstrom in the men's furnishings department. I mean, those are the kind of the jobs that I had, right? And
Perfect.
so it was a great experience. But I got done with school, and I actually moved to Mexico. I saw an opportunity in Cancun. This is
Oh my God.
2005. Yeah, so 2005, I'm like about to turn 22, and I have this idea, and my dad and my mom were very supportive of it, moving to Cancun. At the time, full ownership luxury condos were coming online. Up until then, it had been timeshares. There wasn't a huge market for condos, nor were there condos to support the market. So whichever one beget the other, we could debate. But so all these condos are coming online, and the 60% of the clientele are Americans or Canadians. And so this is really before you're getting, your bills online, electronically. You kind of got to be there in person to pay the tax bill, to do everything. You need a property manager. So my parents had a property that they had bought. They said, Dan, you speak Spanish. Can you find a property manager? I'm calling all over. I have emails I sent that I still haven't received email responses to till today. So after like 6 weeks of this, I'm talking to my dad, and it's like light bulb. There's an opportunity here to start residential property management, like for a very particular clientele, really kind of like my parents, right? I mean, they pay for nice property. They're out of the country. So I started this business up. And so, like I said, I was just shy of my 22nd birthday. I moved down there with a guitar, a duffel bag, and my computer, and said, okay, like I'm gonna start this business. And I remember reading on the plane. I wish I could find this book. It's lost to history somewhere. But I had a book on like how to sell. Like I never sold anything before, but I knew I was personable and I understood what I wanted to accomplish. So so I moved down there in June of 2005. Started this business up. And you talk about hurdles in businesses and challenges. Well, you had a couple months later, Katrina hit in the United States. But after that, which really didn't get, I don't think, as much attention in the United States because Katrina was such a huge deal, was the hurricane that then Wilma that devastated Cancun, destroyed it. I mean, I've not seen devastation like that in real life, like ever. So I just gotten the business off the ground, and the place is leveled, and I'm walking through our unit, and the whole building was complete, but I'm walking through, and you could see from one end all the way clear through the other. I mean, every wall was ripped out. The drywall that was remaining, the drywall was cracked on the studs, total devastation, buildings destroyed. And I'm like, okay, like I've been doing this now for 5-6 months. Most of the people in my life thought I was crazy for moving down here. A hurricane has just leveled this city. all right, I can go home and say that was a fun experiment and figure out what's next, or I can double down and get after it. And that's what I did. So I stayed. I was the only person
One
hanging
second.
out there in Cancun.
Let me put very clear what you did that I love it. So you understood an opportunity for the people that are listening, and without understanding how to sell, you were convinced that you need to pursue this opportunity, and you understand that you need to. If I need to prepare, I have the best book. I'm gonna study. I'm gonna be the best. So this is important in life. So be brave, understand the opportunity, and do the homework. It's as simple as that. So there are many people that in your position will say, I would love this opportunity, but imagine Cancun, I don't know about sales. That's it. End of the conversation. They never do anything. If you see an opportunity, you go there, and in the plane, you start reading and studying. That's it. It's as simple as that. And the second thing that I love, when there is a problem, again, you saw two things. You have a problem right now. Okay, let me leave. Okay, it's an excuse. It was not me. It was that. No, you understood. Maybe there is an even better opportunity because more work to do.
Totally. And I, I think a lot of people hate to fail, right? And sometimes failure is okay in terms of there's a lesson learned, right? But like I don't just like give up if I don't have to give up, like I'm not going to give up. So but yeah, I doubled down. I mean, it took months to kind of rebuild. I oversaw the rebuilding of our place and a few others, and I was down there for about 3 years. Some great successes, some failures that I'm embarrassed about that I wish I could redo. But I think that's entrepreneurship. If you do everything and you have no regrets, you're either a liar or you didn't push yourself enough. So I certainly had my share of both, but they were great. I was able to host, conferences for large international banks that were competing. I was competing with golf courses in Hilton Head to host their conference, and I had the better presentation, was able to put this thing together. And it was amazing. It was great. I mean, it worked out really well. It was also my first time managing people. And so some of those employees worked, other ones, I had an employee who, broke into a couple of the units I was managing and stole stuff.
Did you have any partners, or you were alone? So is your company?
No, I was alone. So managing employees and their behaviors, and that's fine. An employee steals from a customer, you're still kind of on the hook, So yeah, no, it was very stressful in those times, but with perspective now, being on the other side of it, like the things I learned were massive. They were huge. I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. Obviously living on the beach, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
It's an experience, it's a language, it's a culture, what you learn. And by the way, the people that don't know, Cancun is insane. The color of the water. So it's insane. It's like Evian water. Everything's clear. Oh my God, it's so nice. So
it's a beautiful place and beautiful people. I think people think of Cancun as what it was probably like in spring break in the 90s. It's just a beautiful place. I can't say enough good things.
Yes, it's beautiful. And then what happened? How do you move again to the US?
Yeah, came back. So I was transitioning out. It was I would just around my 25th. It was actually after my 25th birthday, and I said, there was increased competition.
25th. Wow. So you were a kid.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And I've been there for like 3 years, and so
this is another thing that all the entrepreneurs that are successful people do. They start very early. So it's another key factor, it's because, by the way, Chicago is amazing. You can have party there, beautiful people, and stay comfortable. And you went to crazy Cancun to do, right. It's very incredible. So, okay. And then you came back.
So I was at a crossroads and I was about 25. I said, look, I have increased competition who's working for way less. They're just charging way less than what I'm charging. And so I had to look at it and say, okay, like, am I going to spend another 10 years here? Like, what's my plan? Like, is this my dream? The economy, the recession was starting to show itself. And I wish I could tell you that I understood the writing on the wall. I just knew it was something I didn't want to be a part of. But you had people who had just spent significant money on units. Some of these 7, 8, almost $1 million US dollars for these units, and they're nickel and diming over $300 a month of management, for someone else charging 100. And I'm just like, something's not right here. Ultimately, what it was is they were over leveraged. People were buying these units. Think about this time frame, going into 07, 08, people were over leveraged. A big part of the business was vacation rentals. I had my own customers kind of secretly undercutting me on these, VRBO. So it's just the market was messed up. So I said, you know what, I've made money. This is great, but I don't think this is my future. I'm not going to spend 10 more years here. So time to go while you're out on top. So I came back and I was thinking about if I wanted to go to law school or get my MBA. And my dad had purchased in the late 90s a small cabinet shop called Kane Millwork for the purpose of doing work on our office buildings that we had throughout the 90s. And so they had at that time then built back up, and it was a small cabinet shop when he bought it. It was probably about 40,000 square feet at that time. And he said, hey, like, why don't you go there? You know, they want to implement an ERP, maybe spend a year, and then you figure out what you're going to do. So that year turned into 13. I've been there ever since. And so we've gone from like a 40,000 square foot cabinet shop to a 200,000 square foot cabinet shop, no, millwork facility. It's not even a cabinet shop anymore, millwork facility. And in the process, have been able to do incredible high profile projects all across the country. A lot of the hotels along Michigan Avenue, the Hallmark hotels, you know, I mean, that's what we've been part of at every sports team in the city, except for my beloved Chicago Cubs, we've done work for. We missed out on the Cubs, but every other team, literally every other sports team, we've done, you know, their locker rooms or something of significance.
And Daniel, tell me something. How do you approach? Because it's hard because you're a kid and you need to go to this billionaire, that have these buildings, and you need to convince them to give you the contract. What is something that you are, so how you made it? So how you convince these guys?
Yeah, it's my team. I really can't. I can take very little credit. I have an incredible team, and what we do is we get the job done, which sounds like it would be a given, right? Like, how could you stay in business if you don't? The construction industry, and especially carpentry in general, gets a bad rap because a lot of people are slimy. They're scummy, and it's in big cities, small cities, they don't get the job done. They'll leave you hanging. You're going to pay for this. They're going to give you this to sneak in bad product. It's really unfortunate. So we all get lumped into this, and that's just not how we play. You know, when we say we're going to get something done, we're going to get it done. And so that kind of performance, like I said, that's all my team, like 100% my team. I get the benefit of having this strong team behind me that I can go and, make the connections and talk to people I have to and say, look, like, you have a tight deadline. I know that this other guy's charging this, but you need that hotel, that restaurant, whatever, to open on dates certain. And if you miss that, I know what it costs you every single day that you're not open. So pay up a little bit, be certain you're going to open on that date. And after a week of driving revenue, you just made it back, and so we get a track record for it.
Obviously Scott Moss.
Yeah, of course. Love Scott.
This guy is a fucking rock star. And I was interviewing members of his team in the company. The company of this guy is insane. I remind me something that you just said. They were hired to make the stadium, and the time for make the stadium was almost impossible. And they really put, it's exactly what you said. So they put a team and they made this happen. And I remember the guy that was in charge in the construction, and he said that when the board was making the decision, they were asking something very simple: how many stadiums had you built in? None. So far, none. But how are you going to plan to do it? From the base to the ground. So he was
right.
So was so convinced, and the thing was, and this reminds me also of this book, Built to Last, that people need always a big audacious goal to really prove to the world who they are and the culture. So, and tell me something about the culture of your company. You are investing a lot of time there. What do you do special to grow, to keep this amazing team, and also to make others the great to want to join your team?
Yeah. So during normal times, obviously during a pandemic, it culture takes a hit, right? Because everyone in the world is going through something right now. So let's zoom out from that. Let's talk about a normal time. Normal time, I think our culture is very strong. Certainly there's things we can do better, but I think the underlying essence is that everyone in the company, whether they interact with me multiple times a day or they interact with me once a week or once a month or whatever, knows that they need something, I'm there for them. Like it's one of those things where when, if I hear that there's, someone out in the shop who is having trouble making ends meet, or, has reached their deductible or hasn't reached their deductible yet and can't afford their medication, whatever, like it's not a matter of throwing money around, but it's like, look, if you get people focused on their jobs by helping satisfy the things outside of work, you're gonna have a better employee for it. So if people are worried about, oh man, I'm gonna have to, not get my, medication that I need to stay healthy because I need to put food on the table, find a way to help them with the medication. That's the right thing to do as a human being. But second of all, like, they're gonna work better. You're gonna actually from a capitalism standpoint, they're going to do much better because they're going to be in the game. So I think the team just knows we're there for them. I think that's it. I mean, it's not, there's no, we have our, our motto and our, all that stuff, but it's really, if you're there for your people, I think the culture is going to build itself. It sounds simple, but I mean, it's worked for me.
I love it. Daniel, now I need to jump in the question. How old are you right now?
37.
Wow, super John. This is
So
crazy.
I joined YPO when I was 25. So yeah, so like right around when I came back. Yeah, so right around when I came back. So I 24 is when I moved back from Cancun. So about a year later, I got done with, looking around at everything. And, my dad said, so like, what do you think? I mean, I'd done everything from printing out the prints back when we printed stuff, printing out the prints and estimating. I was just the assistant all over. And so I said, well, the thing here is like, it's like, there's a lot of good things happening, but nobody's paying attention on what's happening beyond 30 days. Like no one can tell you what the 6-month strategy, 12 months. And he says, all right, well, that sounds like a good idea. You should reorganize this. You should be CEO. And I'm like, okay, I'm 25. I've already moved to Cancun. Like what, nothing scares me. So yeah, so I became CEO in January of 2009, right as the economy was imploding. And I joined YPO 6 months later. So yeah, I've been blessed to be in YPO since I was 25.
I joined YPO at almost 39, and for me, it was one of the most important influence in my life, in the personal, in the company. I can't imagine in 25 how much help you YPO in your life. So I wish to have the credential to be able to join YPO at 25. So I really, to the people that are listening, please go check what is YPO. It's the most amazing thing you can do in your life. So try to join because it's amazing. So okay.
Yeah, anyone who's watching, listening to this, who's interested in YPO, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll help make that happen. I'm a huge evangelist. It's an amazing organization. Yeah, it's been
insane.
I mean, look, it's nuts. Yeah, massive impact on my career.
It's beautiful, and it's like a fraternity. So when you met another YPO, it's like in 3 seconds they're friends. They open. So wow, it's insane. But let's jump in the second. So yeah. How old were you when you made the first dollar? And what maybe 7, 10? What you were selling or doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I worked for my dad in his medical practice when I was 14. I want to say 14, 15. I still have the check actually framed. It was my first paycheck. I have it. My parents just sold our childhood home. And so it was in my bedroom. So they packed it up. So I still have that. I still have my first check from like 14, 15.
But talking about the influence, look, how smart was your father? Because this detail, giving you this importance, I didn't do it with my kid. I need to do the same with I need to go back with the time. It's so nice that he put this your first check, having the importance. Now you're able to make money. It's so important.
Absolutely. And all my siblings learned it too. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, one of my sisters always had 2 jobs because there was a lot of stuff she wanted to buy, and she said, "Okay, like if I want to buy all this fancy stuff, I need to have 2 jobs." So she was always working. My other sister, same thing. My brother, yeah, everyone.
But you know that I know people that instead of thinking, I have a lot of things, let me have 3 more jobs. They said, I have a lot of things, but I don't have the money, so forget it. So sad. Why they stop, they're willing to have or the possibility to have something because they don't want to put the effort. This is the difference between successful people and not successful people, period. Okay, what is the biggest failure in your life, brother? Because everybody has 1 more and 3 or I don't know how many.
Yeah, there's probably a whole podcast interview just on failures. I think that I lead with and I make decisions with my heart, especially like when I was, younger. And I made bad decisions that way. I certainly, kept people on longer just because, emotionally. And I think I trusted. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm not really good at hiring like CFOs. I've had the CFOs who have worked for me have been great people. Like I have nothing, but like I haven't found the right fit. I'm not good at that. And so I think that I get to connect it to the person as opposed to what are the skill sets that I need. And there's been a mismatch. And so I think that's been a something that's held back. But yeah, team, if I have the right people, I can put the culture together. I can get people riled up. But finding the right person, I get too distracted by, hey, like you're a great guy. And I see the potential versus like, what are they actually going to deliver? So that's been something that's kind of been a little bit of an Achilles heel there for me.
I understand how you see that like something bad, but it's also nice because you are a super lovely person. So I think it's a nice thing in one side, but it's true. Maybe find someone else that hires the people and then you give the love to the one that they choose.
Exactly. 100% right.
I agree.
Yeah.
And this life, we need to learn about what we are good at and what is not, and don't do the bad things. Focus in the great thing that you're doing, period. Okay, right. The biggest success, brother.
The biggest success is, I guess on the flip is the people who have, been with the organization, who have the skills. I mean, my EVP, my right hand, at my company is, the guy's amazing, and so this is someone I've known him for such a long time. He's worked his way up, and that was one where he and I have a very open, conversation, and he expressed it. I want to step up. I want to do more, and I gave him those opportunities, and he nailed it every single time. So biggest success is when you have those rock stars, like, do it. Same thing with my head of engineering. I mean, like, you have these people that are rock stars. You make sure that you empower them to do the great work. So that I think that's been huge. I mean, the people who have remained in leadership and who've done the great things, I didn't overpay and hire them from somewhere else. Like, we groomed them, and I was lucky enough to just have these great people working for me.
Daniel, how much money to stop working? Do you have an amount of money, or you're gonna never stop?
I'll never stop. I'll never stop, because what would I do with my time? I have too many passions in life, I love wine, and but it's like beyond. Anyone who talks to me for more than a couple minutes realizes it's not just like, oh, let's drink some wine. Like, I'm a student of it. I'm a certified sommelier. I have a couple other certifications. My long-term goal is to try to become a master of wine, so I'm on that path to try to do that. So I would love to, and I already do like some wine consulting on the side. I do virtual programmings for members for business all the time.
I'm gonna hire you. I have a land in Italy, in the north of Italy, and I always have the dream to have a winery. So maybe we can
talk about this. Yeah, but I would do that. I would do something in wine just to educate people, to be able to go and do tastings, and so that's what I would do. I would love to do that. This is my passion.
Love it.
But I'll never stop working. I can't just sit on the beach. I get too bored.
Me too, brother. Okay, the best advice that someone's give you.
So you mentioned our mutual friend Simon Cohen. I will quote him, and especially during pandemic, things have been all over the place. So he gave me some great advice, and I think about it all the time. He said that when nothing is changing, if I change, everything changes. And so don't discount, what you bring to the table. Situation's crazy right now with the pandemic. Everyone's going through something. Certainly some businesses are up huge, but most businesses are down. Our business is down. I mean, a lot of businesses are down. And so you can approach that every day and saying, oh, pandemic, this is horrible. Maybe we'll go out of business, whatever, like all this negative stuff. Or you can say, listen, I can't switch if there's a pandemic. I can't switch in Chicago, the construction slowdown. I can't affect it. So what I can do is I can come to work and be miserable, or I can come to work and say, listen, guys, what are the opportunities? Let's stay fired up, do what we can. And look, if things work out, we work for it. And if the economy blows up, it blows up. But like, all I can control is like, what's the energy I bring to the table? I think that's very important.
Love it. How many days do you make exercise? Tell me the truth.
Well, so I bought a Peloton recently, so I've been trying to do 3 days a week.
You use it.
It's great. Well, and I'm trying to get more and more of my friends to buy it. So this way, when I feel a little like I'm slacking off, I can send a message to them and say, "Hey, let's go on a ride in an hour." Yeah. So it's group think. But yeah, no, it's great. It's one of those things for me, and maybe it's a lot of people too, where if I'm like, oh, I have to go to the gym and it's like crummy outside, I'll be like, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. It's pretty hard for me to not convince myself to go in the next room and use the Peloton. Like that's a tough, even for me, I can't sell myself on that of why I can't walk to the next room. So
it's true. Okay. Do you eat healthy or?
Yeah. So I'm very big on like kind of what we eat. And so, yeah, I love to cook. So that's been a big part of my life. I mean, I've always been like a bigger guy, that I dropped about 40 pounds the past like 2 years just by switching up what I'm eating. And I still eat really well, but it's important, organic produce and organic beef and farm raised is not like gimmicky. Like what you put into your body does
Wow.
everything. How you think, how you do. Same thing with wine. I mean, like, you know, if you drink very poorly made wine, you're drinking manipulated things. You know, you should eat and drink the right things if you can.
One question out of this question: how many wine you are supposed to have a day? This is not have a Coke. What is the perfect, just to see from an expert?
Boy, darn it. You know, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to answer that question. You know, I think that my great grandfather lived a very long life. He believed everything in moderation. And I think that too. I think that everyone's biology and chemistry is different, right? So, you know, do what makes you feel good. If you are doing something in your lifestyle and you feel bad all the time, you should switch it. If you're doing something in your lifestyle and you pop up in the morning and you're ready to go and you're thinking clear, well, then I think
Keep going.
you're probably doing the right thing.
Got it. Okay, at what time do you go sleep?
You know, I'm always, my mind's always going 11:30. You know, I'm up.
And wake up?
At 6:30.
Okay, very early. Okay, people that you admire. Tell me one person that you admire.
Yeah, I mean,
there are many, of course.
You mentioned a bunch of names. I mean, two of the people you mentioned, I'll tell you. I mean, I like Simon Cohen. I mean, I can't say enough things about him. He's just one of the best human beings I've had the pleasure to meet through YPO, and he's just a dear friend. Salo Sredny, you mentioned him as well. I mean, these guys, especially, you know, over the past, you know, almost year with the pandemic, have been great counsel to me and helped me. Even when I get into my dark times, have really helped me with clarity of thought and working through problems. They're brilliant. Those two guys are,
and they're
I put them up there.
Good person. It's true. I don't remember, but it was 2 years ago in Harvard. I was impressed that the biggest kind of admiration that get Salo, was that he was the person that was helping more people in class. So it's incredible that he's always involved and without asking anything back. So it's amazing. And it's not that he's not doing anything. He's running a lot of companies, but in some way he take the time to help people. So it's beautiful when we find people like this in this world. Okay, if you need to give us an advice of a book, what would you will recommend?
If I sent a book, this is an interesting one, but I think it was part of Plato's The Republic. It's one that I revisited lately. It's the Allegory of the Cave. And so I recommend reading it. It's obscure and it's classical, right? But the underlying premise is what you see in front of you and how your brain determines what that is may or may not be the truth. And I don't say that in a conspiracy theory way. I say that in a, don't let your initial judgment of something be what the conclusion is. So the Allegory of the Cave, Plato's The Republic. That's the history buff in me talking. That's a good one. That's very important.
Super. Okay, and the final question, one advice for people during this crazy pandemic, because it's not over yet.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. There will be another side to this. And whatever happens between now and then, businesses go out of business. Yeah, it's not the end. It's not the end for anyone. And so my advice is to keep a wider perspective, and that even if what you're doing right now isn't ultimately what's going to be, there are opportunities everywhere, and just keep your chin up. We're all going through the battle together. So you're not alone.
It's true. Brother, I love you. Thank you for having this interview. I really love the interview, so I think people are going to love it. Thank you very much. Big hug. I hope to see you soon around, okay?
You're the best. I appreciate you, my friend.